For the first time in 25 years, Dr. Phil paused the cameras and stepped away from the set. His hand lifted toward the control booth, his voice steady but firm. "Stop the tape right now." The room went still. Audience members froze, and production staff exchanged uneasy looks. In the second row, a woman pressed an aging envelope to her chest, tears running down her cheeks. Whatever she carried inside that letter was about to shift everything, not only for one family, but for everyone present. Just 2 days earlier, the episode had been planned as a typical family communication segment. Sarah Mitchell, 42, and her daughter Emily, 19, were invited to discuss their ongoing struggles after Emily's choice to leave college. Nothing unusual. A routine reconciliation case for Dr. Phil. But Sarah had brought something the producers weren't aware of, something she had hidden for nearly 2 decades. The taping started normally. Dr. Phil entered the stage to loud applause, sat down, and opened the conversation with his usual direct approach. "Sarah, Emily, you haven't spoken in 6 months. Emily, you walked away from a full scholarship. Sarah, you told our producers you believe your daughter is throwing her future away. Let's begin with that." Emily sat stiffly, arms crossed. "She doesn't get to decide anything about my life anymore." Strong statement, Dr. Phil noted. "Why do you feel that way?" Before she could respond, something unexpected happened among the audience. A woman in her mid-50s stood up, visibly shaking, dressed in a simple cardigan. She held an envelope so worn the edges had browned. Dr. Phil stopped mid-sentence. Security started toward her, but he signaled them to wait. "Ma'am, do you need to say something?" Her voice wavered. "Dr. Phil, I have to tell them. I can't sit here and stay quiet." The cameras kept rolling. The audience remained silent. Sarah's face went pale. "And who are you?" Dr. Phil asked calmly, rising to his feet. "My name is Margaret," she said, trembling. "And I am Emily's biological grandmother." The studio fell completely still. Sarah jumped up. "No, you do not get to come up here." Dr. Phil stayed composed, looking from Margaret to Sarah, then to Emily, whose shock was clear. "Margaret," he said, "before you continue, I need to know what's happening. Did our producers know you were coming?" "No," she whispered. "I bought a ticket. I saw the episode announcement online, and I couldn't let this go on." Dr. Phil turned toward the control booth behind the glass. "Did anyone screen her?" A producer shook her head quickly. "This wasn't planned. None of it." Then Dr. Phil made a decision no one expected. "Stop the tape," he said clearly. "We need to pause." The camera's red lights faded. The audience shifted, unsure. This had never happened in the show's 25-year history. Dr. Phil walked off the stage and approached Margaret. "Ma'am, I need you to understand something. Whatever is in that envelope, whatever you plan to reveal, this is still being documented. Even with cameras off, there are legal responsibilities. Do you understand?" Margaret nodded, crying openly now. "I've stayed quiet for 19 years. I can't anymore." He looked at her thoughtfully, then turned to Sarah and Emily. "Do either of you know who this woman is?" Emily shook her head, confused. Sarah's jaw tightened. She couldn't speak. Dr. Phil turned to staff. "Bring chairs. Margaret, please come up. If we're doing this, we're doing it properly." As she slowly made her way to the stage, Dr. Phil arranged 3 chairs in a semicircle. The usual format was put aside. This was no longer a standard episode. It was a serious intervention. "Before we restart the cameras," Dr. Phil said, "I need everyone to recognize what's happening. This is real. What comes next may be difficult. Sarah, Emily, if you want us to stop, we stop right now. But if we continue with complete honesty." Emily looked at her mother. "Mom, who is she?" Sarah spoke so softly it barely carried. She was your father's mother." "Was?" Emily's voice cracked. "You said he died before I was born. You told me that." "I lied," Sarah said, each word sounding heavy. "I lied about everything." Dr. Phil sat between them, his usual authority replaced with a calm, human presence. "Margaret, is that what's in the letter?" The truth about Emily's father. Margaret held the envelope carefully. This letter was written 19 years ago by my son, Emily's father. He wrote it the day she was born, and Sarah kept it from her. Dr. Phil asked quietly. Sarah didn't know it existed, Margaret replied. I kept it. My son asked me to tell her the truth when she was old enough. I promised him, and now I have to keep that promise. Dr. Phil looked at Emily, whose eyes were full of fear and uncertainty. Emily, do you want to know what's in the letter? Emily looked from her mother to Margaret to Dr. Phil. Is my father alive? The question hung in the air. Margaret took a breath. Yes, sweetheart. He's alive. Sarah buried her face in her hands. Emily stood so quickly that her chair tipped backward. You told me he was gone. You said he didn't want me. You said he didn't know about you, Margaret said rapidly. Sarah had left before she could explain, cutting off all contact. For years, he had tried to find both of them. Dr. Phil raised his hand, his voice cutting through the tension. Stop. Everyone, stop. He looked at Margaret. Is he here? Emily's father. Right now, in this building? Margaret nodded, and the audience gasped. Cameras that weren't meant to be rolling captured the moment. Television history unfolding live. Dr. Phil walked to the edge of the stage, staring at his executive producer in the booth. Bring him in now. Phil, we haven't vetted. The producer's voice came through his earpiece. I don't care, Dr. Phil said firmly. If he's here, and that's his daughter on my stage, bring him in now. The next minute stretched like an hour. A side door opened, and a man in his early 40s entered, escorted by production assistants. Tall, dark hair graying at the temples, his eyes locked on Emily with desperate intensity. Emily's hand flew to her mouth. She knew, without being told. Some instinctive, genetic recognition. Dad. The word was barely audible, yet the studio heard it. David stopped mid-step, legs giving way as he dropped to his knees. Emily, he whispered. My God, Emily. Dr. Phil stepped aside, letting the moment unfold. 19 years of separation, lies, and loss converged in a single instant. Emily moved down from the stage, faster and faster, until she collapsed into her father's arms in the aisle. Their sobs filled the studio. Margaret handed a letter to Dr. Phil, hands shaking. This is what he wrote the day she was born, before Sarah disappeared with her. Dr. Phil took the letter carefully, but did not open it. Instead, he knelt beside Emily and David. Emily, he said softly, this letter is yours. But before you read it, hear me. What happens next? Anger, hurt, questions, is valid. But right now, you are in your father's arms. Don't miss this moment. The cameras captured a raw, unscripted connection. Emily pulled back slightly, looking into David's face. Why didn't you find me? I tried, David said, voice breaking. Private investigators, databases, social media. Your mother changed your names, moved you across states 3 times. I never stopped looking. Sarah, still on stage, was crying too hard to speak. Dr. Phil sat beside her. Why? He asked gently. I was scared, Sarah choked out. I was 19, pregnant. He was going to law school. I thought I was protecting her from being abandoned, so I abandoned him first. For 19 years. I convinced myself it was right, and then too much time passed. How do you undo 19 years of lies? Dr. Phil looked at her with a mix of compassion and accountability. By telling the truth now. Emily, come back up. Bring your father. Let's do what should have happened 19 years ago. They arranged chairs in a circle. Emily, David, Sarah, Margaret, and Dr. Phil, with the envelopes in the center, a repository of truth waiting to be revealed. Dr. Phil set the stage. Emily, you are at the center. Everything that happens next is your choice. Do you want to read the letter alone with your father, or do you want me to read it? Emily wiped her eyes and looked at the yellowed envelope. I want my dad to read it to me. David's hands trembled as he carefully opened the letter. Even from a distance, the handwriting revealed youth, hope, and a future unknowing of 19 years of separation. To my daughter, he began, voice faltering. Today you were born, and I became someone new, someone better. Your mother is sleeping, exhausted and beautiful, and you're in my arms. I don't know what kind of father I'll be. I'm terrified I'll fail, but I promise to always show up, to always fight for you. Whatever happens, you will never wonder if I love you. You are everything to me. Your grandmother said I should write this, so you know that from the very first moment, you were wanted and loved. Always, your father, David. The words lingered. Emily sobbed. David sobbed. Even Dr. Phil's eyes glistened. Do you see what you missed? Dr. Phil asked Sarah quietly. Not just what Emily missed. What David missed. What all of you missed. Sarah nodded, speechless. Dr. Phil addressed the audience, many openly crying. This is the cost of secrets. This is what lies steal. 19 years of birthdays, first days of school, scraped knees, heartbreak, victories, and failures. Gone. But the next chapter is yours to write. Today, you have a choice. The healing began in that moment. Dr. Phil arranged immediate family counseling, connecting them with therapists specializing in reunion trauma. He provided resources for processing grief and rebuilding trust. This isn't a TV ending, he told them as the cameras finally stopped. This is a beginning, and it will be hard. But now, you have each other and the truth. Margaret, who had kept the letter for 19 years, finally spoke. I kept my promise, David. I told her when she needed to know. How did you know? Dr. Phil asked. She dropped out of college, searching for something she couldn't name, Margaret said. I saw the show's announcement, and I knew it was time. Dr. Phil looked at the letter, still on the table. Emily, what will you do with it? I'll keep it, she said, holding it reverently. And when I have children, I'll show them. I'll tell them their grandfather fought for me before he ever met me. Truth, even when delayed, finds its way home. Dr. Phil stood silently. Some things are bigger than television. This is one of them. 3 months later, a follow-up aired. Emily and David had spent every weekend together, building a relationship from scratch. Sarah was in therapy, Margaret was teaching Emily family recipes, and Emily returned to college closer to her father, studying psychology. I want to help people find what they've lost, like I found my dad, she said. The letter remained framed on Emily's desk, a reminder that love, even separated by lies and time, never disappears. In his Los Angeles office, Dr. Phil kept a copy too, not for show, but as a reminder of why he does what he does. The cameras stopping wasn't a breach of protocol. It was humanity taking priority. In that studio, everyone learned that truth doesn't follow a script. It writes its own story, and when it arrives, you witness it. You hold space. You let love find its way home. The letter still rests in Emily's room, a 19-year promise finally fulfilled, a father's love delivered, a daughter's truth revealed. A story worth stopping the cameras for.